Here we are, the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce in our brand new Sargent Studios. I'm your host, Bryan Weatherford. Today we have a very special member here, a chamber member, if you will, but that just seems like such a small way to describe this guy. His name is Jim Maibach. He is the president of PEYCO Southwest Realty. We're going to get into it with Jim. Jim, welcome. How are you?
Great. I just want to correct you on that, Ryan.
Uh-oh.
No, I gave myself a promotion to CEO 2 years ago.
I apologize for that.
The only reason I did that is because I named Jordan Foster my president of the company.
Right.
He has some ownership in the company now, too.
Very nice.
So locking in another future business leader for the community.
Well, it's good to hear you say that, because when you talk about leadership and the community and PEYCO, they've all been tied together a long time. Give me a little bit of background. Let's go two ways. I want the background on PEYCO and background on you, but let's talk about the company first.
Well, PEYCO was started in 1972. That's when Paul Yarbrough, my father-in-law, joined the Chamber of Commerce in 1972.
Goodness.
So I had to remind Michael that in 2022, when I was chairman, it was our 50th year in business in Arlington.
Wow.
For PEYCO, for the entity.
Correct.
PEYCO, which is now PEYCO Southwest Realty, used to be PEYCO Properties. It was also called PEYCO Leasing. But that was the management leasing company for the original PEYCO Industrial Park that was actually developed in 1968, 69, and 70 on South Cooper Street in South Arlington, when there was very little out that way. So it was industrial manufacturing zone property, 58 acres, fully developed with a industrial business park that is still thriving today. All those buildings have been sold and renovated. We still own the office building, or I own the office building out there, and all those people in that park are clients of mine to this day. So the business was started as one of the 12 businesses Mr. Yarbrough had back in the 70s, and he had manufacturing companies, trailer manufacturing. He had he had an excavation company, a construction company, electronics company, airplane and helicopter rental company. Yeah, because he was a jet fighter pilot during the Korean War. So he had all his toys, but they were in companies that were leasing out those products to other service businesses and so forth. But I joined the company in 1985 and came on as the property manager controller, because I had a background in accounting and auditing with the Department of Defense, and was a Navy guy for a couple of years, and then worked for Army Air Force Exchange Service in Dallas, and then went to work in the real estate business in 85. But he had many businesses going, and then I joined the real estate development and leasing and construction business, and learned the business from the ground up from a local guy that made it in Arlington.
Absolutely.
So
and now you continue not just with the business relationships, but the community involvement that was established so long ago. I mean, your father-in-law, you mentioned, joined the chamber and said, we're going to get to you and a little bit of how far you've gone in the chamber, but he went pretty far himself, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He was chairman in 1979. And there's actually he showed me, we found a picture in the archives of the Yarbrough estate, and it was a picture of Barton Thompson Sr., so Barton Thompson, who's a friend of mine, his dad, and Dan Diaper and Paul, and they were all kids. I mean, when I say kids, they were probably in their early 40s.
Wow.
Or maybe even their 30s. It was a picture in the old chamber building that was, over there on Border Street. So that was kind of exciting to see that picture. But, I have great interaction with Dan Diaper, who's kind of legendary here in town.
Absolutely.
And just a fabulous business guy as well. And so those relationships that Paul built, I assumed those as the company grew. And unfortunately, we lost him in a car accident in 1989. So I got to work for him for 5 years, and then he was gone. So I was thrown into the leadership role, whether I wanted it or not. But I quietly assumed that role, and that was probably some guidance and direction from our CPA, Joe Foster.
Okay.
And so guess who works for me that was of Joe Foster? Well, his son.
Right.
So, I've grown the company through relationships at my church at St. Vincent's, relationships with other business people and families from Arlington. And we have a nucleus of, 15 employees now, doing all aspects of commercial real estate. And I'm glad to say that I always try to promote from within and hire within, people from the Arlington area or
Sure.
Arlington itself, because they know the history of the business and the climate and people, and that's what it's all about, helping people grow their business and being successful and living in a community that live, work, and play. Brian, we have the entertainment district is so exciting to be able to go over there and, just went to the grand opening of Hearsay Restaurant.
Right.
And, what's exciting about that to me, not so much that the mayor had opened it, but my daughter Lauren, who's a Arlington Chamber member with LJ Carter Creative, graphic designs and websites and artistic work. She's a chamber member. Her business is thriving, and she got to work. She did some of the staging on all the prints and the photographs in the restaurant, and worked on the logo and the menu logo and several other things for Jim. So, there's a generation that's now coming up that I'm pretty excited about.
Well, we're all excited about it, and we've been excited about PEYCO from day one. For I grew up in Arlington. I can remember seeing the PEYCO signs as a kid, and now I get to meet with Mr. PEYCO.
Mr. PEYCO too.
Yeah,
you might want to say, but it's been exciting. I mean, I did Leadership Arlington in 1988. I'm still best friends with about 3 or 4 people that went through that class. Became lifetime friends of mine. And so, early on getting involved, with leadership and say, hey, do this because it's a good program and you're going to meet people and learn about our community. And then also joining the chamber. And so I got immediately active in the chamber, probably, after a year of working at the company and learning my way around town a little bit, so as it would be. And so that's always been part of the strategy of our company is to leverage our membership at the chamber and be active in events and help put those events on. And it's not what the chamber can do for you, but what you can do for the chamber.
Fair.
And if you come into that with that kind of attitude, you're going to be treated so much better, and people are going to get to know you. And once they get to know you and they trust you, then they do business with you. And I've always had that. I was out there selling and pushing my card on it. People, what do you do, Jim? And how can I help you? Oh, you can help me with your property taxes. You can help me with a brokerage deal. I need to lease some office space or some warehouse space, or I want to build my own building. I want to buy some land. We would help them in all those aspects because that was the business I learned from the ground up. We'd find property, we'd scrape it, we'd build the industrial park or the business park, build the buildings, lease them out, manage them, and then, they rotate, the tenants would come in, get their business successful. Some of them wanted to buy the buildings we were leasing to them. Sometimes we sold, sometimes we didn't. But when we did sell, it was a good deal for us, good deal for the tenant. And so we would just tax rate exchange a lot of times and roll that into another building.
Jim, have you found that people come to PEYCO looking for one service? For example, hey, we need some help with property management, and they're working with that, and then they say, hey, this is great. Do you know anybody that can help us with some appraisals? And you say, well, absolutely. Does it work to where somebody comes to you for one service, not even realizing the other ones are available, and they're so pleasantly surprised to find out that, wait a minute, you do this too? Does that happen?
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, if it's not happening, Brian, then heads will roll. No, but yeah, and that's the beauty of what we do is we are a full service commercial real estate company, and we can help appraise. I'm certified appraiser, have been since '92 when the license came out for the state of Texas and the United States. I've got a real estate broker's license. I'm a licensed state arbitrator, and a licensed property tax consulting. So I'm always in class, it seems like, but I use every one of those licenses to earn income for our company and help our clients be successful in real estate. I'll give you a real quick one. This is the story I've told several times, but Dr. Steve Apoliski is a client of mine. He became my allergist. Okay.
Okay.
And I'd get shots, so I didn't have a lot of reaction to all the grass and pollen and the weeds and so forth. But got to know him. He wanted to build a new facility in South Arlington. I said, I have some land I can sell you. So I was able to sell him the land to build his new building. I was then a director at Southwest Securities Bank. We helped him get his loan at the bank. I got the appraisal assignment. We appraised it. He got his financing. I flipped him to the construction company. At that time, it was a spinoff of one of ours, Binks Construction, who's a chamber member, Les Binkley and his family, for old-time Arlington folks. And so they built the building for him. And then I said, well, listen, we need to keep the tax value down, so now we can do your tax work on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Barnett Shale happened, and behind him he had excess land. I leased that to the TP Barnett gas play for him, helped him make money there. And then he had an extra space on the end of the building that he wanted to lease out to a third party. And we still lease and manage that property for him. And we have a State Farm insurance agent in that portion of the building. So, and he's still a client of mine to this day. So we cross-sold him on all those aspects of what we do at the company. So, and he's a really nice fellow. He's a very good doctor, and it's nice helping those people. And so, yeah, we do that service, and the property tax business has actually become a very large part of our business. One of our largest clients is D.R. Horton, America's home builder, located here in Arlington, an Arlington-based company. Glad to have their corporate headquarters here. Jeff Williams worked on bringing them back from Fort Worth back to Arlington. And so we do their property tax work. And the way I won that business from DR and his son Randy is a guy named Don Allen, whose wife is Fiona Allen, that worked for the City of Arlington Water Department. Very good employee of the city. So I got to know her, met Don. Don hired me to do a zoning case in Southwest Arlington for a residential development 25 years ago. So I took the case on. We won the case for Horton. They put in a real nice subdivision right by Tierra Verde Golf Course. Mm-hmm. Very nice facility they did there. And after we won that case, I asked them for some of his tax business. They gave us their commercial stuff, and then they started giving us the residential, all their lots. So we do 9 counties in Texas for D.R. Horton. And it was a zoning case that I won. It turned into a great tax client.
It's really interesting because my whole life I've heard the phrase, and particularly here at the chamber, that people buy from people. And you're a prime example of that, because you get to know someone and they do business with you personally and professionally. Is it fair to say that from a relationship standpoint, you've been able to take personal relationships and do business with them, but then more importantly, I think, to take business relationships and have personal relationships with them as a friend moving forward?
Yeah, in fact, I saw Don Allen at the ice hockey game. He has seats at the Dallas Stars.
Okay.
And he's about 10 rows behind me. And so I saw him on Sunday afternoon when the Stars played Colorado Avalanche and beat them, which was kind of fun. Yeah, we won 7-3. So that's a lot of goals in a hockey game.
It sure is.
Exciting game, but I saw Don there, got to visit with him. He's semi-retired now. So.
Right.
But anyhow.
But the relationship remains, whether it's personal or professional.
Absolutely, and that's what I've always loved about Arlington, and not just Arlington, the Fort Worth people, Tarrant County, and it's a small family. That's really a huge family. And when you sit there and think Arlington is 400,000 residents, and you're like, wow, when did that happen? And you drive up and down Cooper Street and you realize when it's towards the end of the day and people are coming home from work, then you realize there are 400,000 people
Absolutely.
in this community. But during the business day, you can still get around town pretty decent.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been a nice ride because the Texans are welcoming folks, and they're also open to making new friendships and creating new business relationships.
I tell you what, while I have you in here, I would probably get in a lot of trouble if I didn't. I got to ask you a couple of chamber-related questions real quick, if I may. Obviously, you're very passionate about the chamber. You've been involved in so many ways, again, personally and professionally over the years. Most recently, of course, you served as our chairman of the board. Most recently, you're what you're talking about, a media past chair, I believe is where we are.
That's really
what that happens. Well, let me ask you, there's a lot of people that may be watching this today, and they're not chamber members. They're thinking, well, maybe I should join. I don't know if I should. You could go on forever about this, but I want the number one reason somebody that's not a member, why should they be?
Because you can help your community grow, and if your community grows, your business grows. You're going to thrive because of the relationships. One of my favorite chamber members is Dwayne Lee, Flare Photography. And the reason I say he is a chamber man through and through. He's at all the events, of course, taking pictures all the time. But Dwayne, he hired me to help him grow his business when he wanted to sell his facility in Pantego. So he had it under contract, and we found him a piece of land because he wanted to build a building. Okay, so we brokered the land deal. We got it zoned so he could build his office building. He got the construction numbers and said, "Oh my God, that's more than I wanted to spend." So he said, "Jim, sell the land." We sold the land for a profit, so he made money on that. And we eventually ended up helping him find a new building. We helped him buy the new building. But Dwayne is one of these guys that he's going to go for the architectural, for the brokerage, for the construction, for any of those services. He's going to use a chamber member. And he's going to use his networking group at the chamber as well. And you can just, let me just say this. You don't have to go outside Arlington to find what you need for whatever business it is.
Bingo. It's all here in Arlington, and for the most part, it's right here in the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce. And it's been going on for a long time, and it's just, in a lot of ways, we're just getting started. And we're just getting started because of the leadership within the chamber and within the community of business people exactly like you. So thank you for everything you've done for Arlington, continue to do for Arlington, and certainly everything you've done for us here in the chamber. We appreciate you being with us today. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Folks, that's Jim Maibach, everybody. He is the CEO of PEYCO Southwest. Had to get that correctly. I want to thank Jim for being here. As always, we certainly want to thank you for being here as well. And remember, together we succeed. Take care.